What Phil Mickelson had to say in a statement today. I am thrilled to begin with LIV Golf and appreciate everyone involved. I also intend to play the majors. I fully realize and respect some may disagree with this decision and have strong opinions, and I empathize with that. I have a renewed spirit and excitement for the game. I am incredibly grateful for the support of my fans, partners, friends, and peers, and hope in time those sentiments, relationships, and support.
If you love the untold stories and real drama in golf, make sure you subscribe. Golf Mode TV drops heat every single week. Phil Mickelson had the whole world turning on him, but now he's spinning right back around, and everybody's watching with big eyes. After all that Elev Golf chaos and years of staying quiet, this new announcement got people whispering like, is Lefty really trying to slide back home? This is where things get wild. Today I'm breaking down how golf's outcast flipped into the sport's most unpredictable wildcard again. Lefty ascends.
Difficult, and the model that is on LIV is what is needed to be successful. We saw it even on last week's signature event. Players will do what's good for them and not necessarily play unless they are contractually obligated, just like in the NFL and baseball and every other professional sport. And that model, as it's brought to LIV, is allowing us to move throughout the world and make professional golf a global sport.
Phil Mickelson's story used to be a clean, perfect fairy tale, until it snapped and turned into something nobody saw coming. Lefty was that dude who could do no wrong. A real star from day one. Born in sunny San Diego in 1970, Mickelson was the kind of prodigy who made golf look slick way before anything was TikTok trendy. By the time he walked out of Arizona State University with 3 NCLW titles and basically one step from the pros, fans were already lined up like he was stepping in as the new king. And when 1992 arrived, it wasn't just a debut. It felt like the PGA Tour unlocked its boldest showman ever. Mickelson wasn't just swinging a club. He was putting on a full performance every time he stepped up. Every shot felt like a dare. Every putt felt like a watch this moment. And the man had that perfect mix of charm, edge, and crazy skill that had crowds locked in every single weekend. This is where the whole thing gets wild. Today I'm breaking down how golf's outcast suddenly flipped into the game's most unpredictable wildcard once more. Lefty ascends. Phil Mickelson's story used to be a clean, polished fairy tale, until everything cracked and twisted into something nobody ever expected. In the early 2000s, Mickelson blasted straight into golfing sainthood like the spotlight was built for him. That 18-foot birdie at the 2004 Masters was straight-up movie magic. The grin, the little hop, the whole crowd going wild. That moment stamped Lefty's name into legend forever. His charisma was so strong that even his slip-ups felt like part of the show. Almost like he did them on purpose, just to keep things spicy. Then came the majors in 2005, 2006, and 2010. And when he raised the 2013 Open Championship trophy at Muirfield, fans and critics finally agreed. Phil wasn't just great, he was moving like he couldn't be stopped. But behind that smooth smile and those crowd-pleasing waves, quiet whispers kept floating around. Whispers about debts, gambling tables, and an impulsive streak that made him thrilling to watch and just a little dangerous at the same time. When he grabbed the 2021 PGA Championship at age 50, becoming the oldest major winner in golf history, Mickelson wasn't just beating time, he was straight up clowning it like time couldn't touch him. But while the confetti was still falling, something darker started bubbling, because Lefty began calling out the PGA's obnoxious greed, talking about how players were treated, and hinting hard that something massive was coming. Retirement? Reinvention? Revolution? Nobody knew the real play yet. But one thing was obvious, Lefty wasn't finished swinging. The former Golden Boy had seen too much, and he was getting ready to take the boldest shot of his whole career. Then came the defection shock. June 2022 didn't feel like a normal golf moment. It felt like an explosion, because Phil Mickelson, the eternal showman, the people's golfer, had just made the most divisive move of his entire legacy. In one calm but cryptic tweet he dropped the line, "Grateful for the past, excited for the future," and anyone really paying attention knew he was lining up a major move. The translation was loud. He was stepping away from the PGA Tour and jumping into LIV Golf, the Saudi-backed league stacked with money, controversy, and wild promises to flip the whole sport upside down. That $200 million wasn't just a check. It was a straight-up warning shot aimed right at golf's old establishment. Mickelson had been heated for years over PGA rules he once called obnoxiously greedy, because to him the tour didn't feel like any kind of safe home for players. It felt like a system built to keep them boxed in. It moved like a monopoly, straight up. So when Elev came knocking with those billion-dollar offers and a promise to flip the whole script, Phil didn't just say yes. He walked in like he was supposed to be the league's prophet. "I've seen the good and the bad," he said, trying to frame his jump as a push for progress. Critics called it hypocrisy, but Phil called it evolution, and he didn't flinch for even a second. Elev wasn't golf, it was golf remixed. 54 holes, squad teams, no cuts, shotgun starts, EDM vibes, guaranteed checks, and a global stage that felt less like Augusta and more like Coachella with wedges. It was loud, wild, and a whole different world. The PGA? They weren't amused for a second. Commissioner Jay Monahan hit every defector with suspensions, dropping a shaky statement that sounded soaked in betrayal, and sponsors sprinted for the exits. KPMG, Callaway, Amstel Light, all scrambling to shield their polished corporate image like the whole sky was crashing down. Twitter blew up with fury, jokes, and straight-up outrage. But right in the center of that chaos, Phil looked almost relieved. His first LIV run in London pulled a massive crowd. The cheers so loud they drowned out every critic in the building. He tied for second, grinning like a man who shoved all his chips in and somehow pulled the perfect card. This is about creating a better product, he told reporters, calm and stubborn like he already knew the whole blueprint. Maybe it was rebellion, maybe it was reinvention, whatever it was, golf's former golden son flipped into a full-on outlaw, and the entire sport instantly shifted its shape. Then came the backlash inferno. Fast, loud, and unforgiving. The same fans who once screamed Lefty with pure excitement started spitting the name like it hurt, throwing around sell out like they were personally betrayed. They jeered with no mercy. Saudi shill. They shouted, flipping Phil Mickelson from golf's playful troublemaker into its overnight villain. The internet turned into a full execution zone, blasting memes of him standing on oil rigs and dollar signs glued over his eyes, flooding timelines non-stop. ESPN dropped long moral think pieces, late-night hosts tossed jokes like it was open season, and every column felt soaked in disgust and disbelief. People kept asking the same question: how did golf's most relatable star end up being the most hated man in the entire sport? The backlash reached full fever pitch at the 2022 US Open. The same fans who used to adore Mickelson now hit him with boos so loud they swallowed his drives whole. And for a man who always fed off crowd energy, those quiet gaps between the jeers felt harsh, the kind of silence that slices deep. It hurts, he admitted, his voice shaking in that post-round interview. It hurts to lose relationships built over decades. But that raw moment didn't move many people, because the crowd had already picked their villain, and they weren't about to switch sides. Then the real darkness rolled in, threatening messages, vandalism, and sponsors dropping him one by one. KPMG gone, Callaway gone, Amstel Light gone. The whole lineup backed out while Phil stood there watching his entire foundation take hit after hit. PGA loyalists painted him as the face of greed, while protesters outside LIV events lifted those blood money signs like battle flags. But underneath all that outrage, the truth was way messier. Mickelson wasn't the only defector. He was just the loudest, the boldest, the easiest target on the board. By late 2022, he tried smoothing things over, saying my words were poorly chosen, hoping it would cool the flames, but the storm around him wasn't slowing down for anyone. He admitted his mistake, but the internet never forgets. It screenshots everything and throws it back in your face fast. His apology turned into another meme, another joke, but somehow he kept smiling through the whole storm. Maybe a little bruised, maybe a little marked up, but definitely still standing, because Phil never melts into the background. He moves through chaos like it's his own armor. He didn't just wear that villain cloak. He crafted it himself, stitched with pure Lefty swagger and straight defiance. If the world wanted a villain, Phil Mickelson walked in ready, grinning with a driver in his hands like he ran the whole mess. "Live is the future," he said on the Full Send podcast, his voice buzzing with confidence, and you could hear he meant every word. The outrage didn't slow him down, it lit him up even more. After joining High Flyers GC, Mickelson wasn't just a captain. He turned into the loud messenger for golf's boldest rebellion. Shotgun starts, million-dollar purses, champagne-soaked podiums. LIV flipped golf into pure entertainment, and Phil stepped in as the ringleader without even blinking. The PGA could keep its tight etiquette, because Phil was chasing straight fireworks. LIV wasn't about country club vibes and khaki pants anymore. It was sneakers, trap beats, and bold team logos flashing across the fairway. And while critics stayed heated, Mickelson's charisma shifted from sweet charm into full challenge mode, as he talked with real passion about innovation, family time, and bringing back the fun in the sport he loved so much. It was rebellion with a smile all over again, a whole revolution wrapped inside a simple polo shirt. By 2024, Phil had morphed into LIV's silver-haired statesman, demanding world ranking points and clowning the PGA's red tape with sharp, clean precision. And when Rory McIlroy threw a little jab his way, Phil fired back with straight memes, dropping hate the player, not the game, like he was built for the internet spotlight. People online rolled their eyes, but they still cracked up. They couldn't help it. But underneath all that humor, the cracks started creeping in. Old friendships cooled off. PGA allies stopped answering his calls, and even at home, quiet rumors started floating around. Those whispers slid into tabloids, stirring up more noise, but surrender has never been a word Phil uses. "I believe in this," he told Fox News in April 2025, sounding more locked in than ever. After joining High Flyers GC, Mickelson wasn't just a captain, he became the loud voice of golf's wildest rebellion. Shotgun starts, million-dollar payouts, champagne-drenched podium moments. LIV turned golf into full-on entertainment, and Phil slid into the ringleader role like it was made for him. The PGA could keep its stiff etiquette, because Phil was chasing pure fireworks. LIV wasn't about country club rules or khaki fits anymore. It was sneakers on the turf, trap beats in the air, and bold team logos flashing across every hole. And while critics stayed fired up, Mickelson's energy shifted from soft charm to straight-up challenge mode, speaking with real passion about innovation, family time, and bringing back the fun in the sport he's always loved. His eyes were burning like a man chasing purpose through straight chaos, and chaos, like always, showed him love right back. LIV blew up across continents, from Adelaide's roaring crowds to Hong Kong's neon glow fairways, pulling in fresh fans and new global sponsors non-stop. And through all of it, Mickelson stood there looking almost vindicated, like the world finally caught up to the vision he'd been preaching. But sitting under every cheer was a heavy question. Was this real victory, or just pure vanity? The joy looked solid, but the exhaustion hiding underneath looked real too. Still, under those bright lights, Phil stayed Phil, gambler, fighter, disruptor. Once he gambled on a birdie putt to chase glory. Now he was gambling with his whole legacy. And as always, he looked excited by the danger. Then came the format reversal, the plot twist nobody saw coming. On November 4th, 2025, irony hit like a golf ball blasting straight through a window. LIV Golf, the loud rebel league that swore it would flip the entire sport, suddenly dropped its wildest U-turn yet. Starting in 2026, LIV announced it would ditch the 54-hole setup and slide back into the classic 72-hole format. The league, literally named after 54, was now bowing to the same structure it once clowned, and fans were shaking their heads like, no way, this is real. CEO Scott O'Neill tried to shine it up, calling the switch the natural evolution of the game, talking about boosting competition and finally clearing a lane for official world ranking points. But fans and critics weren't fooled for even a second. This wasn't bold innovation. It was surrender wearing a slick corporate disguise. The reactions came flying fast. Jon Rahm cheered the competitive boost. Bryson DeChambeau called it a win for the fans. And Dustin Johnson gave his quiet nod like he'd been expecting this twist. But Phil Mickelson's silence? That was the loudest sound in the whole room. This was his blueprint, his movement. The 54-hole model was his gospel, his proof that golf could be quicker, flashier, and way more free. And now with one clean boardroom announcement, the whole thing disappeared like it had never even happened. When reporters finally caught up to him, Phil's answer dropped so soft it felt like the temperature fell. I'm honestly not sure. Just 4 words. But they carried the weight and exhaustion of 3 years living in non-stop controversy like it was glued to his back. Fans replayed that clip again and again, analyzing every blink, every pause, every tiny shift in his face like they were detectives on a case. Was he drained, disillusioned, or just tired of fighting a system that always seemed to twist back in its own favor? Behind closed doors, the whispers started getting louder. Was LIV finally cracking under PGA pressure? Had the Rebel League realized that real legitimacy still bowed to old-school tradition? Phil looked like a man caught between his vision and a wall he couldn't push through anymore. Mickelson, once the loudest voice in golf's rebellion, now moved like its fading echo. As 2025 wrapped up, that shot of Phil standing off to the side in a tense press room said everything without him speaking. The man who once threw gasoline on golf's establishment was now watching his own fire shrink. Not gone, not dead, just dim to thin smoke, quiet air, and this faint scent of surrender drifting around the edges. But then, just days after LIV's 72-hole bombshell, Phil swung again, and this time the swing wasn't with a club, it was pure legal heat. On November 7, 2025, the man built from headlines dropped another one in a fiery X-post, shocking everyone watching the chaos unfold. He revealed he'd brought in powerhouse attorney Tom Clare to take Hunter Brook Media to court for straight-up defamation, turning the whole saga into a new battle with serious force behind it. The outlet had accused him of leaking insider information about Sable offshore stock, a claim Mickelson blasted as completely false and straight-up slander. His post wasn't just a denial, it was a full declaration of war. "I'm done staying quiet when lines are crossed," he wrote, the punctuation hitting sharp like a club face, and the tone pure vintage Mickelson. Bold, dramatic, and impossible for the sports world to ignore. And the timing? It couldn't have been more cinematic. While LIV Golf was scrambling back toward old PGA tradition, its original rebel cranked the chaos even louder. The lawsuit instantly pulled every old controversy back into the spotlight. The gambling drama, the whispers about insider tips, the messy tug-of-war between his image and the truth. And suddenly the court of public opinion opened right back up like it never closed. Some fans hyped him up, shouting, "Fight back, Phil," while others shrugged, "You made this mess, now deal with it." And then walked in Tom Clare, the same legal powerhouse who defended Johnny Depp, and suddenly the whole saga had everything: celebrity heat, scandal, defamation, and straight-up drama. Analysts said the case could drain Mickelson of millions, but anybody really watching knew this was never just about the cash. Phil wanted something way bigger: vindication, redemption, and control over the story that had chased him for years. This lawsuit wasn't just a swing at the media. It was Phil trying to grab back the narrative that kept slipping out of his grip. And every reporter in that room felt it the second he stepped in with that fire in his eyes. As those filings hit the court, insiders started whispering that Mickelson was ready to unload receipts, messages, and behind-the-scenes details the public had never seen before. Suddenly, that quiet tension between him and the PGA started buzzing again, like somebody plugged the whole sport straight into a power outlet. Sponsors, executives, agents, everybody watched from the shadows, waiting to see if Phil was about to expose the whole machine or burn himself up trying. And through all that pressure, Mickelson moved around calm. almost too calm, wearing that same half smile he used right before sinking a clutch putt on a Sunday afternoon. It wasn't confidence, it was a straight challenge, daring anyone to underestimate him one more time. But chaos never shows up alone. It always brings a whole squad with it. As the lawsuit picked up real steam, leaks started spreading that Hunter Brook wasn't budging an inch, and their lawyers were gearing up to fight tooth and nail. They hinted they had sources, documents, and communications, turning the whole thing into a showdown that felt less like a court case and more like a heavyweight title fight under bright lights. Sports talk shows jumped on it instantly, dropping wild theories every hour. Was Phil the victim, the mastermind, or just the spark that lit a fuse he couldn't stop anymore? LIV fans rushed to defend him, PGA loyalists sharpened their criticism, and golf Twitter grabbed popcorn like it was primetime TV. Meanwhile, Phil doubled down in public. No fear, no flinch, standing tall like he'd been training his whole life for this exact showdown. But behind that tough posture, insiders whispered that he was planning every move with pinpoint precision, knowing one wrong step could flip this from a comeback into a full collapse. And still, he kept pushing forward with that same stubborn fire he's carried forever. By mid-November, the storm hit full force. News outlets ran split-screen coverage, LIV's format reversal on one side, Mickelson's lawsuit heating up on the other, and somehow Phil still sat dead center in both stories like he was gravity itself. Even the PGA couldn't pretend it wasn't happening. Executives quietly circled up in meetings, realizing whatever came next might shift the entire rivalry between the tours. Commentators kept asking the same question: was Phil fighting for justice or chasing another rush? And the answer changed depending on who you asked. Supporters said he was standing up against lies, while critics claimed he was rewriting the past just to shield himself. That split only made the drama hit even louder. But Mickelson didn't blink, not once. In interviews he stayed calm, steady, almost philosophical, talking about fairness, accountability, and the truth coming out. And whether you believed him or not, one thing was crystal clear: Phil Mickelson made himself impossible to ignore all over again, right when the golf world thought his flame had finally faded out. It was all about control, about snatching back a story that had been slipping through his fingers for years. "Living in the public eye makes me a target," he said, tying the smear right back to the long fallout he'd been dragging ever since he jumped to LIV. The bravado was still there, but underneath it you could see the cracks, the same ones hiding inside that haunting shrug from days before. "I'm honestly not sure," kept floating in the air, sticking around like a quiet aftertaste of doubt. And as 2025 takes its last breath, one thing stands solid. Phil Mickelson, golf's eternal gambler, is still sliding every chip to the center of the table, ready for whatever wild turn comes next. Whether this story ends in redemption or full collapse, nobody turns a downfall into straight theater the way Lefty does. The same man who once defied gravity on the course is now battling his own legacy, and even if the finale gets messy, he's locked in to make the whole ride unforgettable. If you love the untold stories and wild drama in golf, make sure you subscribe. Golf Mode TV always drops the real inside scoop every single week. And that's exactly where Phil Mickelson stands, defiant, unpredictable, and moving like nothing on this planet can shake him. He's not just a golfer anymore. He's a full symbol of everything unruly in modern sports. Pride, risk, and rebellion wrapped into one sharp, smirking swing. Whether this lawsuit hits huge or fades away, whether LIV blows up or falls apart, one thing is guaranteed: Lefty will never walk off the stage quietly. If you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe. More heat is dropping soon.